And with that, we have the gracious few. Now, you guys had a falling out with Ed, your vocalist, right?
That's an understatement.
Okay, well, you know, I'm glad you're smiling with that because I know a lot of guys that have worked in the industry that wouldn't be smiling when they said that.
It's all good. Well, our take on the whole thing is that we'd rather spend time sort of building people up rather than tearing them down. We're, you know, I hate to say this, but we got what we wanted, which was a rock band, and Ed got what he wanted, which was a solo career. So it was sort of a win on both fronts. That's at least my up with people version of it. Now, had I been drinking, it's a different version.
Sounds like a relationship to me.
It's true.
You know?
It's true.
I mean, you spend 8 years, 10 years with guys in a frickin' submarine. Eventually, something's about to go awry, right?
Yeah, it was 22 years for us.
Was that real? It's been that long?
Mm-hmm.
You guys started middle school, right?
Yeah. And it was time.
We're 26 now, so.
Do you know why divorces are so expensive?
Why is that?
Because they're worth it. Thank you.
Good point. Well, regardless of what's happened with you guys personally, all 6 of you, or 5 or 10 of you, have made a lot of great music up to this point. So, Kevin, let me ask you, man. Having spent, like I said, your adult life making music for a living, what could you say is the pinnacle of your career thus far, and what would you say is the lowest point?
That's a good question. I think, honestly, and no bullshit, this is probably the pinnacle. This is it's always refreshing as an artist to feel passionate about music. Candlebox, when we started, we were a ragtag group of guys. We weren't really friends. We were kind of put together through a group of friends. I didn't know Pete when he joined the band. I only knew Barty, the bass player, from high school. So we kind of fell together through mutual projects that we were working on. And we made some great music and had a lot of fun, but it's a different thing, now having the opportunity to rebuild something with these guys who I've known now for, it's going on 18 years. First time I saw them was when they were touring with the 120 Minutes tour with, PIL and Big Audio Dynamite and Blind Melon. That's the first time I met them, and we've been friends that long. So, when you build something and, like I said, you said earlier, it goes away for like 8 years or whatever, it's not always easy to pick that up. But when you build something from the ground up like we're doing, using only our talents and the love for one another as musicians and friends, it's way more fun. And so the pinnacle is this. I've had great successes in my life, and I've had a lot of fun. The downside was, lawsuits with major labels and losing my relationship with my band Candlebox. That was really hard because you build something and you work really, really hard at it, and then a label comes in and says, well, fuck you, that's not going to happen, and we own you. And unfortunately, that happened to us, and so now we're free agents. We own the label. We make the decisions, and we do what we want. So that's why I say this is the pinnacle for me, even though it's building from the ground up. We're a baby band. Not a lot of people know who we are. We're selling records. We're selling tickets, and we're still on a tour bus. We're not in a van, so that's a good thing all around.
Now, I've known Kevin for about 15 years or so. We met in Pensacola. He says he remembers, but I know he doesn't. That's okay. Because I remember. Actually, the first time I met you was in New Orleans. You guys were playing a sold-out UNO Lakefront Arena.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And
Flaming Lips opening on that.
What's that?
Flaming Lips opened on that. 94.
That's right, man.
I remember that.
Yeah, they were awesome, too.
I
They
do
still
remember
are. Yeah, right. It was at a meet and greet after the show, which bands rarely do anymore. There's usually before. But then we hung out a little bit in Pensacola, and I was in Seattle for 7 years, so I know his bandmates more than him now. But regardless of all of that, when you see someone in this industry in the beginning, and then you see them 15 years later, and not only have they grown up, but I've grown up as well, you notice a difference in their ego. You know, it's like in the beginning, you know, they're all excited and full of themselves, and you know, basically think that the world is entitled to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And you know, as we become adults, we realize that, at least from my perspective, that's really not important. What's important in life is love and friendship, and money and material things are kind of secondary. They're still important, but secondary. So here you guys are. I know you guys in live have always, and the gracious few, have always been down-to-earth guys, because I've seen you in interviews, and I've actually been in a meet and greet where you were once. And you guys are kind of subtle cats, you know, that just want to play music outside of your singer, who I don't know very well at all. But it seems like all you guys are grown up now. So what is the difference between starting a band when you're young and starting a band now? And is it as important to you to have success this time around, at least in the scheme of popularity?
Well, I think I have some sort of, you know, maybe psychological or spiritual answer in a roundabout way about what you're talking about. You know, when we were children, literally, and formed our band, Chad, Pat, and I started playing together when we were 13 years old, and we've made music basically every day of our lives ever since then, other than, you know, occasional holiday breaks and things like that. What you do, of course, is because there are lots of doubters around you. I mean, for us, it was high school peers, et cetera. It was like, oh yeah, whatever, you guys have a band. And while everybody else was going off to college, we were saying, well, this is what we're going to do. And with us, things happened very early. We were playing CBGBs when we were 16, et cetera. And of course, you're in a van, you're traveling together. Everybody has a tendency to dress alike a little bit and all those things. And what it really turns into is a bit of a gang. And that gang has to really, really believe in itself. So it takes it fills all the voids that you have, especially as a young man, and you fill it up with all kinds of super stupid stuff. Like, we write the best songs, and we're the best lyricists, and we're the best players, and, you know, you're convincing yourself because, you know, if you don't believe in yourself, first off, you know, nobody else is going to believe in you. And then, of course, then you succeed.
Right.
Then, boy, all that stuff that you were cramming in there and all those empty spaces, you're like, well, hell, it must be true. We're the shit. You know, we're great. And of course, so when you meet a band when they're young, and I get to meet lots of young bands because I still produce, I feel that coming from them. And it's such a different feeling now, having been doing it for, you know, 20 years. I feel like the old veteran guy, and I always kind of have to say to him, you know, there's more important things in life, and your relationships with each other are more important than, you know, what you're going to fill up. And so what people will call it is like an ego, you know, like, oh, well, he's just an egomaniac or whatever. But a lot of artists go on and they never actually take the time to root themselves and go back to the earth. For Chad, Pat, and I, we were from, you know, York, Pennsylvania, which is as blue collar as anything that is under the sun. The kind of place where basically if you were an egomaniac or an asshole, you get the shit beat out of you. So for us, you know, as we went home, it was always humble pie. It was back to even the doubters. I know it was interesting as live sort of came to an end and the hiatus went over. It was really interesting to watch a couple of the people that couldn't wait to take a jab at me. Like, oh, well, that's over. Now what are you going to do? You're going to be a painter? Yeah. You know, and I'm pretty much so qualified. I don't even know if I could be a painter. I might be able to work at Starbucks. I make a mean espresso.
Chapeau shop.
So the point is, you know, when you're meeting these artists and they're you know, young guys, that's what it's all about. It's all about inflating it. I mean, you know, turn on not that I dare do it, but, you know, turn on television and watch a video for a second and watch a rap artist, and they're surrounded by Bentleys, which are leased or rented or just owned for the day, and semi-naked women and all those kind of things. It's just infantilizing this weird thing that we have as young men in particular, which is, you know, we're going to be great. But then in time, you know, as it went by, all the people that turned out to be great in my mind were guys like John Lee Hooker, who in my opinion made his best album the year before he died, or Muddy Waters. And now I think even the younger version of that would be the Rolling Stones, where I think, in fact, they're probably playing some of the most important music of their career very late into life. They're seasoned. They're older. And so some of the youth spirit that piss and vinegar that's needed to make it rock and roll music, as it dissipates and it goes away, it's actually replaced with real soul music. And I think that's what, the Gracious Few are doing. We're actually just old soul men.
Yours is coming. Yours is coming. Just be patient. We ordered it yesterday.
All right, well, I'm stoked, man. Let's do this. Everybody ready? All right, make some noise. Let's give a warm Portland welcome to the Gracious Few.
Just be,